This album has really good, genuine punk vibes to it. This album sounds like that album cover looks. Seeing this album at only number 58 makes me really unsure I even want to continue with this supposed ranking. Rolling Stone's 100 Best Albums of 2024. I don't know exactly what's on here. Good possibility I haven't heard a lot of it, so there might be quite a few skips here. And let's go. Blah, 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 2024, blah, blah, blah. Pom Pom Squad. Well, can't say I've heard it. Brooklyn grunge band leans into this darker tone of the Lewis Carroll classic, so I might check it out. Sleater-Kinney, Little Rope. I'm kind of surprised that's that low. I thought that was pretty good. Not absolutely great, but pretty good. Common and Pete Rock, The Auditorium, Volume 1. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Wild God, and made it to number 97 on their list. This album is really very high on a lot of people's lists, and I'm not going to go into a big spiel about it, but I think Rolling Stone might have gotten this one right. This looks interesting. A Texas country anti-hero. Songs like Nine Lives, Black Cat are full of around and find out energy. I'm going to check it out. Kerry King from Hell I Ride, stepping away from Slayer. Yeah, this is a pretty good album. Megan Moroney, Am I Okay? Well, you're a pretty lady, but you wear too much makeup. Allie X, Girl with No Face. Lynn Drum Machine, Allie X's greatest weapon on Girl with No Face. So it's got an 80s vibe to it, maybe like an 80s new wave vibe to it. Rolling Stone describes this as a mixture of soul, country, blues, Americana, and more. Right Place, Wrong Person. That's the new album from R.E.M., his second solo album. Don't know anything about that. Apparently it's a rap album. Apparently a pretty good one. Camila Cabello. She's been around a little while, makes some decent catchy pop music. The Hard Quartet. They're basically the Matador Wilburys, an all-star team where listening just means hanging out and soaking up the friendly vibe. Well, from the description, this seems like something I should have heard. If you're into electronic stuff, this was an interesting album. You got words on your teeth, dude. I didn't like this album. To me, it just... I don't know if I want to say it sounds like it's too much fun. That's like there's something like that's a sin or something. I just don't think it lands. The Last Dinner Party. The song that was out a year or so ago. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a hit. Video was around for a while. It was on alternative radio for a while. I liked that song, and then I thought a lot of the rest of this album kind of sounded like the same song over again. But a lot of people really like this album. Adeem the Artist, I've heard a couple of Adeem the Artist's albums. He calls it like he sees it, and this is not really radio-friendly country, so you're not going to turn on your local bull/wolf/whatever country, however you consume country music. You're not going to hear this. Don't know anything about that. Well, the album cover's kind of cool, but I don't really know anything about it. Emo Ambient. The whole album flows like Brian Eno's Another Green World through the ears of a big Pedro the Lion fan. Well, that sounds like something I need to check out. Hey, look over here. I want to take a picture. No, over here. A lot of people liked it. Maggie Rose, I'm just sort of so-so on Maggie Rose. Sexy Red. This album sounds like that album cover looks. This is Lorelei, Box for Buddy. Box for Star. Well, Rolling Stone thought it was boundary pushing, so maybe I'll check that out. Maggie Rogers has her moments. God said no. Me too. Seeing this album at only number 58 makes me really unsure I even want to continue with this supposed ranking of music from 2024. John Cale always does interesting stuff. Adrienne Lenker. I like Big Thief. A lot of people really like this album. I listened to this album and I heard one slow acoustic guitar song after another. Except there's a cover of a Big Thief song that they did on the previous record a couple of years ago. And I like the version on the Big Thief album better. Everybody likes that song. Number one country song and a number one pop song, which hasn't happened at the same time in a long time. So I haven't heard the rest of the album. Brittany Howard I like a lot. I didn't think this album was great as a lot of people do. The Year I Turned 21. Okay. Well, if Toa Bird is a rock and roll firecracker, I'm going to have to check this out. A refreshing blend of genres that's all her own. Okay. Cash Cobain. No relation. Didn't love this as much as a lot of people did, but St. Vincent is somebody that I do have a lot of respect for, and St. Vincent's a hell of a guitar player, too. 48 she blew up in the whole country world real fast, like a couple of years ago. She's still doing all right. So apparently Latto's been around a little while. I thought when I first heard about Latto, where she said, I might let you hit it after some Hennessy, and I just thought, this is trying to cash in on Lizzo, But apparently she's been around for a little while. Illuminati Hotties. A lot of people really like Illuminati Hotties. I like a song or two here and there. I didn't really care a lot for this album. I don't care a lot for the Marias. This album leans into reggaeton a little bit more than I like. Vampire Weekend, Only God Was Above Us. You can always count on Vampire Weekend to make a good album. You can't always count on them to make a great album. That's what I'll say about this. Halsey, The Great Impersonator. A better idea than what you ultimately got. I like the idea. I think Soccer Mommy is very above average. A London-based artist with a Zimbabwean accent. I can't say that I've heard this. I could. It'd be a lie. Hooray for the Riff Raff. There's some moments here. The Smile. A lot of people really liked either or of the Smile albums from 2024. I like them, but they just make me miss Radiohead. Faye Webster. Here's somebody that is not as well known as she ought to be. She makes songs that you can have a slow dance with your wife and still feel like it's a good song. I have listened to this. This has shown up on a lot of people's lists, and I didn't really think it was that great. Jillian Welch. I had to say it if I haven't listened to this yet. Shakira. If I'm being completely honest, I like Shakira. I think she writes great pop songs that are catchy, and her English lyric songs are sometimes just have the most bizarre lyrics, just the most bizarre way of putting things sometimes. Kim Gordon, The Collective. This was an interesting album. If you don't listen to any country music at all, I'm going to recommend that you think twice about that and dig up anything by Sturgill Simpson. His voice is amazing. He's the second coming of Waylon Jennings. He also had a brief role in the most recent season of The Righteous Gemstones, if you have HBO and or Max. Taylor Swift does Taylor Swift things. I hate to sound ignorant. Well, I don't really hate it that much. But, Taylor Swift is good at doing what Taylor Swift does. And as far as I'm concerned, one album's as good as the other. Mannequin Pussy. This album has really good, genuine punk vibes to it. In a contemporary way. Hey, everyone, look, it's a new Kendrick Lamar album. I remember when To Pimp a Butterfly came out, 10 years ago. I didn't get it. I'm not entirely sure I do now, but he's a creative force, and he is very respected and very popular. This is one of the best records of the year. Jack White, No Name. This album just slams from start to finish, or I think as the kids say these days, it slaps. It slaps. I mean, use that term around some of your younger relatives at Christmas dinner this year. It slaps. Say, have you heard that new fill-in-the-blank album? It slaps. Mdou Moctar. This is an album you should hear. If you like guitar music and you watch this channel, you probably have some attachment to the guitar because this is primarily a rock music channel. But Funeral for Justice by Mdou Moctar is it's an incredible listen. He's an incredible guitar player. Jessica Pratt. I thought this was okay. This album is on a whole lot of people's lists. I'm not a big hip-hop guy, so I can't really comment on this one. This Cindy Lee album is very inspired by, sort of early and mid-'60s girl groups. It's got that vibe to it. It's a very interesting listen. I would definitely recommend you listen to this album wearing headphones. It's 2 hours long also. It's actually a really good album. It took me a minute to get McGee, and then I got it. His guitar is tuned in a really unusual way. This album is really more about good songwriting than songs that are great jams. Nothing here really slaps. Waxahachie, Tiger's Blood. This album is really nice. Again, this is another album where the songwriting is really more interesting than the music. Mostly slow, mostly acoustic guitar. Heartfelt. Her voice is great. Songs about good parts of relationships and bad parts about relationships that you can dance to. I've been waiting so long for her debut. So one of my dirty little secrets is I actually like Billie Eilish quite a bit. I think she writes really inventive, sort of dark. Her and her brother, they produce these inventive, often dark, alternative pop songs that are just imaginative enough to be really interesting. So hopefully Billie Eilish is around for a while. It was kind of hard to avoid that espresso song this year, wasn't it? This guy writes great songs. This guy writes songs that will make you go, did he just say washing the of the shower curtains? This is the album that a lot of Beyonce fans thought was pretty cool, and a lot of country music fans didn't. I can just tell you this. The Nashville music community was not waiting for Beyonce to tell them what a country album is supposed to sound like. Now, if you like Beyonce's country album, cool, I got no problem with that. If you like Beyonce, you like Beyonce. And it's the number 2 album. Obviously, Rolling Stone did. Well, if you know anybody that was in their 20s this past year, you probably knew that it was a brat summer. And Charli XCX has the number 1 album on the Rolling Stones top 100 albums of the year. And that doesn't really surprise me a lot. This is not the kind of music that I spend much time with. But if I do listen to Charli XCX, I will say Charli XCX writes really good pop dance music. She's very, very much a cut above. Like, I would listen to Charli XCX any day over Camila Cabello or Ariana Grande or whoever else is popular in that kind of thing right now. She does it better than they do. Now, I don't really spend much time listening to Charli XCX. Matter of fact, I spend very little time. But anyway, it's number 1 on their list, so I got to say something about it. Okay, so take a look at how I feel about some music that I know a lot better and care a lot more for.